Hello, everyone. I would like to share my notebook, my analysis of this data set that I have used from Plotly. This is a built-in data set. So I'm using Google Colab, and I imported these libraries and using pandas, series, imported series and data frame, and also imported plotly.express as px. So this here is the data set, and the name of the data set is Iris. When I wanted to look at first 3 rows, I used the head method, and here is the output. The default is 5 rows. If I delete 3 and leave it empty or no number, that will give me 5 rows. I would also like to check last 3 rows. So I use the tail method and 3 rows. So that is why I passed number 3. Number of rows in column, I would like to know how many rows and columns are in the data set. So I use the shape method, and shape method is giving me 150 rows and 6 columns. To use the statistical analysis of the data, and this applies to only numerical values or numerical columns. So I use describe method, and I will get how many values in the data set, how many rows, in other words, 150, what is the mean of sepal length and sepal width, so on and so forth. What is the standard deviation, min 25%, 50%, 75%, and maximum values of each column. And these columns are numerical values, as you can see. Okay, for information about the data frame, I use the info method. Info method will give you the data type, null values, and the columns, okay? How much uh, memory space you are using, that would also, but I'm not going to get into detail about this. Let me just go through the data frame. So checking the null values, I use is null method, and then I add everything up. So this way I would know how many null values I have. Name of the columns, I would like to know the name of the columns in the data frames. I use the columns method, and here is a list of columns. I'm using a group by method to count the species in a data frame. So name of the data frame is Iris. Group by, I'm using group by species, and I am using sepal length, and I want to count. And here is the output. Here is each species is 50 rows or 50 data set for each species. I'm using the pivot table method to count the number of each species, number of rows of each species, and this will also give me the same number. It's just 2 different ways to solve. As a data analyst, you are going to work with group by and pivot table quite a lot. So get used to, get comfortable, and that is why I'm showing you both. Now I'm using group by method to find the mean sepal length. So group by species sepal length, and I apply the mean method, and here is the mean of each species of sepal length. Okay. Now I'm using pivot table to do the same thing right here. This is the mean sepal length. I'm using the pivot method to counting how many values, how many rows for each species, mean, max, min, sepal length of each species. It is a list, and I just pass all this aggregation functions right here, and here is the result. Okay, here is the result. I'm using the group by method to find the mean, sepal length, number of each species, which is almost the same thing. It's just 2 different ways to get the same result. So I am giving you a lot more information. Now I'm using Plotly to use bar graph of each species showing sepal length. And here is the title. I'm using template, dark. You see the black background is dark. This is from this code. Color is species. This is the color, which is the legend. And you see the text inside, which is text auto is true. And beautiful graph, very nice graph. Now I'm using iris dataset to use a bar graph for sepal length and Y on sepal width. And also you see the values inside each bar that is coming from text auto is equal true. Template, I'm using dark template. That's why the background is dark. Okay, I'm still using the black background. It's such a beautiful background. This time I'm using sepal length and sepal width. And everything is almost the same, but you see sepal length and sepal width is much closer to each other species than petal length and petal width. You see, this species is very different than these two, which is Virginica, versicolor and Virginica. Okay, so Setosa is very different. Okay, let's take a look. This is the scatter plot, sepal length and sepal width. It's just a different kind of plot. That is how you analyze data to understand data. And I just use sepal scatter plot. Okay, there's another scatter plot, petal length and petal width. This is this graph is a scatter plot, but is by the size. As you can see when I hover over the data, and the blue is much smaller size because the values are much smaller. So that is what the size does to make the point or dot according to the values passed to that. Okay, I'm making a histogram, which is iris petal length. So how many in each category? That is the histogram frequency. Okay, and these are the species. Basically the same thing. I just changed the title and I change the template. Okay, this is histogram for petal length and almost the same thing, but I'm using template ggplot2. And here is pie graph for petal length and using a species. And all my charts are dynamic, so I can, when I hover over, I see the data. This is donut chart. Here is the code. There's the donut chart. It's just another way of representing data. Beautiful chart. Now this is called sunburst chart. Let me explain this to you. This is Virginica and is coming, we are using sepal length, the values are coming from there. And as you can see, we have one species that is right here, and sepal width, that is the first ring, second ring, petal length, and the petal width. So you can fold, you can, let me fold it one more time. As you can see, so that is the beauty of the sunburst chart. Very nice graph, beautiful graph. I love it. Yeah, very nice. Okay, this is the facet plot. Facet plot, as you can see, species right here in a column, and we have sepal length, and then we can compare their lengths. That is the facet plot. And that is all I have for you. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.